Catherine's Stitching Chronicles, my channel where I talk about my love of all things cross stitch, and welcome to Flosstube number 13. So I'm just gonna get right into it. As you can tell by the title of this video, March has been a bit of a month. So unfortunately I was in a car accident earlier this month. I was rear-ended at a red light. Unfortunately my car was totaled. And I did hit my head on the seat hard enough to have a very minor concussion. Luckily, I'm okay, I'm doing well, I'm pretty much good, and like I've got my new car already. And I mean, it's all a relief, obviously, to be able to put it all behind me. But it was a pretty scary and stressful experience that I certainly didn't need. Especially with everything else going on too. Like my wedding is now less than 2 months away, and I have a big work trip coming up as well. So I've been super busy and super stressed. All of this is to say that I didn't quite do as much stitching as I normally would, or as much as I would have liked this month. I did have to take a few days off of stitching, like with my head. And I did have to just kind of like ease back into it once I was able to look at and like concentrate on things a little bit better. So I did still like stitch on my goal projects, but the goals themselves kind of went out the window, and I mean, like I didn't reach some of my targets, and that's okay because like obviously my health is a lot more important. And so that was the focus this month, was just resting, recovering, and stitching on what I could, stitching on what I wanted when I could. And I just took it from there. So, that said, I still have progress to share with you because of course I kept on stitching through all of this. So I'll go through all of my whips as I normally do. And then later in this video, I also want to talk about my top picks of all the new releases that came out at Nashville this year, because I have quite the list. So let's get into it. So the first project that I have to show you is my Heaven and Earth Designs 2025 Stitch Along. So the chart that I chose is called Jelly World. It's so beautiful, I love it. So my goal for this project was to do about 4,000 stitches every single month until the end of the year, which should get me to a 6 full page finish of this chart. And by doing that, that will give me access to the other charts that were offered as options for the stitch along. I believe there were 12 charts that you could choose from. So if you get 6 pages done, you get the other charts for free. So that's what I'm aiming for. So I'll put up a picture of where I was at the last time I showed this to you. And this is where I'm at now. So yeah, my goal is 4,000 stitches a month. I did not quite get there. I did 2,837 stitches. So I continued working along this bottom row here. So this is not quite the bottom of the first row of pages. There's still another 10 or 20 stitches below this, but this is the edge of the second page. So I finished up this row that I was working on, and then I came up and I just started that block up there. So yeah, I mean, I didn't work on this one for a couple weeks actually. I think like it's just so small and detailed and dense. Like it took me a while to have the brain capacity and concentration to be able to work on this one, but that's okay. I still got a bit more than 2,800 stitches done, and if you recall from my Flosstube at the end of January, I actually did some extra stitches in January. I did 700 or 800 more stitches than I needed to, so I had those in the bank already, which kind of makes up for the stitches that I didn't do this month. Oh my gosh, my cat is yowling outside my door, and I would love to let her in, but I have my projects all over the floor, and she will trample them, so sorry if you can hear that. Anyway, that makes up for the stitches that I didn't do a little bit, but I also did a couple like at the very end of December because the chart came out a couple of days early. So taking all of that into consideration, the total number of stitches that I will need to do to get 6 pages is about 45,000. That's what I'm using as my target. And I've done almost 13,000 stitches in total already. So I recalculated my monthly goal based on that amount that I have left. And I'm actually calculating it based on only having 8 months left in the year rather than 9, because we are also planning our honeymoon and we're gonna be away for almost a month. So based off of another 8 months of stitching, I need to do 4,008 stitches a month, which is basically what my goal was already. So moving forward, like, I'm just gonna keep on going with about 4,000 stitches a month, ideally a little bit more than that just to be on the safe side. But I mean, I didn't actually like fall behind on this. I'm more or less still on track. So that was a very long explanation of this project, but this is how it's looking and I'm so happy with it. It looks so freaking amazing. So loving this so much. And I've set it down, but I realized I forgot to say I am stitching that 2/1 10 stitch on 28 count Lugana, which works well for me for full coverage. In case you were curious, this is the cat in question, who is obviously much calmer now. Oh, yes. But she likes her attention and she doesn't like closed doors, but you also like to chew on things, and chewing on cross stitch is not going to work for me. And I can't show you one cat without showing you the other. Oh. My girls. The next project that I have to show is the Blackwater Siren Stitch Along from Bella Filipina Designs. So I'm stitching this one on 28 count linen that I dyed myself. If you're interested in seeing and kind of like learning more about how I dye my own cross stitch fabrics, including this particular piece of fabric, I just posted a Flosstube extra about that, where I talk about how I dye things, and I do talk about the process that I used for this piece of fabric. So if you're interested, go check it out. So I'll put up a picture of where I was at last time. I was working on part 6 of the cell, if I recall. And since then, part 7 has come out. So this is where I'm at now. So I finished part 6, which was the top half of this siren. And then part 7 I've started, which is her tail. So this is another one that I didn't touch for a couple of weeks. I was leaning towards projects that were a little bit simpler and a little bit brighter. This one is a bit more of a complex pattern. It's very dark, and I wasn't really being drawn to it. Even without the concussion, honestly, I feel like I'm losing steam a little bit on this one. I mean, it's so beautiful and I love it, but the parts, like each part is just so huge. So I'm losing a little bit of momentum on it, and then like now I'm kind of disappointed that I've fallen behind, because part 8 is going to be coming out this weekend, I believe. But I'm gonna be away for work for like a week and a half, so I'm not even gonna have this project with me for the next week and a half, and then I'm just gonna be even more behind. So it's fine though. I mean, I'll finish it eventually. There's cat fluff on it, no surprise. But yeah, so I'm a little behind, but you know, I'll finish it when I finish it. And this is part 7. There's only 9 parts, right? So it's like if I'm falling a little bit behind at the end, it's fine. It's just like I wouldn't want to fall behind at the beginning, because then I feel like it's really, really hard to catch up. But as we're getting closer to the end, I mean, I guess I don't really need to worry about it that much. It is really pretty though. I really, really love like her pink skin. So pretty. All right, so now moving on to my whip go projects. So one of my whip go projects this month was an existing whip. The other was a new start. So that was kind of fun to work on one project that I already had on the go, but then I also had a new start, which is always fun, right? So my first whip go project is Wisteria by Nora Corbett. So the last time I showed this to you, I believe would have been in my whip parade at the end of 2024. And I hadn't worked on this since the last time it was on my whip go board last year. So this was fun to pull back out. And this is where I got to. So this is 28 count nacreous Lugana from Forbidden Fiber Co. I'm not sure the colors really come across on camera, but it's a really lovely mix of like different pastel colors. So what did I do on this? Oh, I did her wings. Yeah, I originally thought I might work on her dress, but I decided I wanted to do something fun and get some new colors in here. So I came up and worked on the wing, and then I started on her like skin and head as well. So she's so pretty. Like, I love all the colors in this. She's so pretty. And actually what's fun is the whip go numbers for April were just pulled on the 25th, and she's also one of my April whip go projects. So I get to keep working on her, which is fun. And yeah, we'll see how far I can get. So my other whip go project this month was Delphine's Butterfly Brigade from Mirabilia. So I was really looking forward to starting this one. Really what drew me to this design was all those beautiful butterflies. I mean, they're just gorgeous. And I mean, they're pretty realistic looking to me, like the colors and the veins on the wings and stuff. I just always have thought that this chart was really, really beautiful, and I picked it up at some point last year. So I was very, very happy to be able to start it. So I like started in the middle, so I'm trying to tuck in like both ends of the fabric. There we go. So this is, oops, this is where I got to. So I am a center starter, obviously. So I started with her dress, and then I wanted to get some stitches in on those butterflies. So I kind of moved around a little bit, and I love it. I love it. I can't wait to work on this more. I don't know when I'll work on this again because it's not on my whip go board a second time, but if the opportunity arises to pull it out again, I definitely will. And this is a piece of 28 count avocado toast linen from the sewing shop. I picked this fabric up at Stitch North last year, and it's been sitting in my stash, and I just think it's perfect for this. It's quite a bit lighter than the called for fabric, but honestly, I think that's fine. That is lighter. I think she's still gonna pop really nicely. And like the grays and blues and the greens, I mean, they do kind of blend in a little bit, but there's also, like on the butterflies and stuff, there's also a lot of back stitching. So I'm really not that concerned. And I think all the colors in here just look beautiful with this fabric. So it'll be pretty when it's done, I promise. Okay, so the next project that I have to show you is the Court of Crows Stitch Along from Fine Frog Stitching. So this is where it was at the last time I showed it to you. Since then, I've done 1,204 stitches, which has brought me to a total of 1,603 stitches complete, or 63.1% complete on the frames. So this is how it's looking. a lot of numbers. So this is 18 count kunzite Ada from Fiber on a Whim, which is really beautiful. So I brought this with me to Toronto at the beginning of the month for a quick work trip. And I'm planning to bring this one with me on the work trip that I'm leaving for tomorrow. Hopefully I don't run out of stitching on this in my downtime. But I wanted to bring a small project with me so that it wouldn't take up too much space. So hopefully this will last me the whole trip. Yeah, so like I'm still working on the frames, obviously. Since then, part 1 has come out, which was very, very small. And then by the time I leave tomorrow, I will also have part 2. So I'll pop up a picture of what part 2 looks like. So I'm kind of gonna I'm not gonna try and finish the frames before I start part 1. Like I'm just gonna keep working on the frames and then also do parts 1 and 2 while I'm there, you know? Originally I was wanting to finish the frames fully, and then I kind of remembered that I had a trip to go on and I needed a project to bring with me. So I just stopped where I was at, and I'll just pick it back up tomorrow once I leave. So I'm sure I will, catch up and be back on track with this one in no time. I find with Fine Frog's stitch-alongs, her, weekly releases are usually quite manageable. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what she has in store for us with this sal. All right, so the last project that I have to show today is actually a February whip that I somehow completely forgot about when I filmed my Flosstube at the end of February. I really don't know how I did that, but I completely forgot to show it to you. So I'm gonna show it to you now because it's looking really good. So this is Butterfly Bouquet from Sprouting Lupine, and this is what it looked like the last time I showed it to you. And this is how it's looking now. So since the last time I showed it to you, I've done 750 stitches. In total, I have done 2,939 stitches, which has brought me to 21.7% complete. So this is 14 count Ada that was originally just pale pink, and then I overdyed it myself. And I love this project so much. I love pink. This flower in the bottom corner is an absolute beast though. It's huge, but it's looking so pretty. So myself and Clancy's Creations, she is on Instagram. She's also here on Flosstube. We started a hashtag for this project, which is #ButterflyBouquetSal. It was a start along, not a stitch along, so there's no formal parts or anything. But if you haven't already started this gorgeous pattern and want to kind of jump in on that, definitely feel free to use the hashtag and tag us, because we would love to see your progress on this beautiful, beautiful project. So that wraps up my whips, everything that I worked on this past month. As per usual, as far as plans going into April, I mean, it's the usual, right? It's working on my monthly goals, trying to reach those monthly targets, working on my whip go projects, and hopefully I can sneak in some other whips when I have the time. A very exciting new start will be the Lola Crow stitch along that is starting at the beginning of April. The theme is Extraordinary Birds. So I dyed my own fabric for this sal. Again, if you're interested in seeing how I dye my fabrics and explaining the process of what I do, you can check out my Flosstube extra where I talk about all of that. And I filmed the process where I dyed fabric for this sal. So definitely check that out if you're curious to see. But I'm so excited for that sal. And that'll be starting very soon. Aside from that, I'm also really looking forward to Stitch North. I will be attending weekend 1, which is the last weekend of April. So I'm super excited. I had such a blast last year and I can't wait to go back. So definitely leave a comment below if you're going to be going to Stitch North this year, especially if you're going to be at weekend 1, because I will also be there. So now I want to talk about some of my top picks that were released at Nashville this year. I'm so sad because Lindy Stitches is hosting like a Start Fest this weekend, which I would love to participate in, but unfortunately I will be on a plane, so I won't be able to join. But I know a lot of people are getting really excited for that, and getting ready to start some of these gorgeous projects that came out recently. So I just want to talk about some of my favorites that came out that I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on. And you can bet that I will be starting at least one of these, hopefully sooner than later. So to kick off my list, I have a couple projects from Liz Matthews that I just loved. So the two that I really want are Fanciful Flowers. I just love the colors and just the look of this. I just think it's so fun. And second is Sun Soaked. So Sun Soaked uses the same like beaded trim technique as I learned at the Jingle Ball. I did take the class with Liz Matthews at the Jingle Ball this year, and I made that beautiful like star-shaped pillow. And you can see the beaded trim is the same. So I love it. I love the look of it. I think it's just so darling and precious, and I would love to make another pillow that has that same border on it. My next two that I picked out are from the Artsy Housewife, of course. So the first one is Summer Feels. These colors and like this vibe is so up my alley. And also I really, really love the big pear. So I don't remember the name of the project that one of the Thread Gremlins is or was working on. I cannot for the life of me remember what it was, but one of them was stitching. There's a big pear on something. And then Caroline as well is working on another pear with kind of like a plaid stitching technique that she's kind of developed. So they have given me a fascination with cross-stitched pears, and I was just really, really drawn to that in this chart. And the second Artsy Housewife chart that I really, really loved was A Study in Garden Fairies. I don't even know what it is about this one, to be honest. I can't put my finger on it, but I love it. I think it's so cool. It looks quite big. I'm not sure what the actual dimensions of the chart are, but it's giving BAP to me, which is big ass project if you didn't know. So I don't really need a lot more BAPs in my life. I already have several, but there's just something about it that I just love. The next one that I have is from Pedal Pusher, which is not a designer that I'm actually familiar with at all. This is a brand new discovery to me. And it is Vintage Centerpiece and Bouquet. So same thing with this one, like the colors are just, they just speak to me so much. And like the pops of the pink and yellow against the blue is just beautiful. It's so springy, and like, as you know, I live in Canada. I'm like really over the winter. So all these spring designs and colors and everything are just giving me life. The next one is from Kathy Barrick, and it is From Velvet to Linen. So like a lot of other people I'm sure can relate to, I died when I saw this. I love it. This one I would say is like not super up my alley and like not very characteristic of what I would typically stitch. So it's interesting that I love it so much, but I think it's awesome. Next one is from the Blue Flower, another crowd favorite, I think, and that is Pigeon and Puddle. Like, nothing more needs to be said. I mean, look at him. Look at him looking in the puddle. He's amazing. So I love this one. I think it's hilarious. Cam the Stitcher and Bridgen the Museum Stitcher talked about doing a stitch along or start along, stitch along, I'm not sure, with this chart in the month of April. So I might jump in on that. This might have to be a start in April, we'll see. But I just think it's hilarious. So I have two more. Another chart from Fine Frog Stitching. This is Feathered Friends April. So I mean, it's a little duck with rain gear. I mean, come on. It's so cute. So cute. That's it. That's all. And then my final chart that I have on my list here of like my top picks is from December Stitches, and it's Naughty List. So I have a couple of naughty cats, if you can tell by the shrieking earlier. So this one really speaks to me as a cat owner, and it's just adorable and festive. So another one I think that's gonna have to go on my to be stitched list. So that wraps up everything for me today. As always, thank you so much for joining me. It means so much. Don't forget to leave a comment if you would like, and subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. And until my next video, happy stitching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.